Jessica, and this is my final presentation explanation. My quote is "Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving" by Albert Einstein. This quote really inspired me, especially in ISM. There's a lot of calling people, emailing people, and some of them just wouldn't respond. And it just inspired me to keep on going, even if nothing is like going my way. And I ended up getting into it. So, what is physical therapy? Physical therapy is the act of helping someone improve their mobility, whether it's a like in-depth injury or just like a day-to-day pain. Um, Pain can sprout from like really anywhere in the body, and so like knowing that you can go to physical therapy for literally anything helps a lot. As a physical therapist, you also need to know that every single injury is different from any injury that you had before, even if it's in the same exact spot as the last. Two people can go in for the same thing and their treatments can be completely different. So a physical therapist normally starts a patient's treatment off by the first appointment being fully just like communicating through what their injury is and what it looks like. Um, just knowing how it starts and then how it's gone to where it is really helps the physical therapist understand how to help. PTs have recurring appointments with their patients more often for the ones who have more severe cases, and then more like spread out with the ones who have like just generalized pain. So whenever you have like a very severe injury, you have to go to PT a lot, or physical therapists go to your house if you can't even like leave your house. Um, and that's because you need to keep on moving, you need to keep exercising and strengthening that body part. But the people who have like a less severe injury, they just go in for maybe like a once a week or even like every other week, once a month. It kind of depends on your injury. And then again, it's specialized to every single person. Not one person is going to have the same thing, um, which is really important as a physical therapist to understand because you can't just keep the same exercise plan for someone else. That's kind of what makes it so difficult too. So my original work was a brochure that contains 3 QR codes to 3 different exercise plans, and the exercise plans were neck, back, and knee pain. Um, I wanted to do originally neck, back, and shoulder pain, I think, but I talked to my mentor about it, and she thought that the shoulder was too like complex and it can't really be generalized. Um, the hardest part about my original brochure, like the challenge that I ran into, is like physical therapy can't really be watered down and it can't be generalized for like everyone. So that's definitely the problem that I ran into is like I couldn't make an exercise plan that anyone could use, and that was my goal with my original work is like handing out a brochure that I could give to like a teenager and even like their grandparent could use it or their parent could use it. So that was my goal, and I ended up making it work, but I didn't understand how to exactly at the start. And then for my original work, I added a lot of warnings and like cautions that people knew, like if their pain worsened or got worse over time, that they had to go get professional help, um, and they couldn't just use my brochure as a physical therapist. So some of my assessments for original work, my assessment 8 was um, me figuring out all the areas of the body that I wanted to work on. That's what also led me to realizing that shoulder pain was not going to work out because of the complexity, along with my mentor helping me. So that kind of gave me like the outline and like, foundation base work of my original work, and then it like gave me the pathways that I need to go from there. My assessment 9, I had an interview with my mentor to show her my plan for my original work and see what she thought about it. That's when we realized that the shoulder was too complex to do and it cannot be generalized, so we had to go with something else. And then assessment 10, I gathered all my exercises that I wanted to do for each body part. Um, so after that, I started thinking about, okay, what exercises should I do for the neck, back, and knee? And part of that was like realizing, could like my little cousin do it and can my grandma do it at the same time? Like I wanted to know that all age levels could do it, and then some of my exercises I realized like were too hard for all age levels, so I had to like kind of water them down. I had to make it like sitting instead of standing, or weightless instead of like weight bearing, stuff like that. My final product is a continuation of my original work, but like adding a lot onto it. So part of what I wanted to do with my original work to change it was add on 2 more QR codes to more exercises. And then I also wanted to create like a treatment log so that anyone who used it can have like an organized place to like log their symptoms and like how they're feeling after doing my exercises. Um, so part of adding on the treatment log was like me wanting to make it a day-to-day thing, but when I talked to my mentor about it, she thought that the questions were like really like just not an easy like fill out, and she said that people might want to not just like sit there and fill it out. So she suggested that I make like a simple yes or no like questionnaire, because part of what I wanted to do was like take away a lot of the wordiness of my brochure, and the only way to do that was to make like a log. So she thought that like instead of warnings, I could have a yes or no like questionnaire, and then the yes or no questionnaire would lead them to finding out if they needed professional help or if they could keep on using my brochure. And then the other thing that I thought about was making the log printable and easy to access online, because a lot of like old people don't want to use technology and they want to print it out, or some people might just prefer writing it out, or some people might prefer using it online. Um, Again, using the treatment log would help clear the wordiness in my brochure, and then adding on 2 more QR codes gives people like more things to do with my brochure. So my assessments for my final product, assessment 11 was kind of how I got my mentor and how she was going to help me with my final product. And that's an assessment of kind of what we talked about, my plans for my final product as well. And then assessment 12 was us figuring out like a realistic timeline for my final product, kind of talking about every single meeting what I wanted to talk to her about, and like by my next meeting what we would talk about and what I'd have done. And just things about my final product. I talked to her about what exercises I wanted to add to see if they would be like feasible to generalize or not, and she kind of helped me figure that out too. And then assessment 13, I researched about wrist pain, and I figured out that wrist pain is super common, so it's really easy to add onto the brochure because it's like almost everyone has it, because you get it by like writing or typing all day, stuff like that. So it's just super common, and that's why we figured that it was going to be easy to add to my brochure. And then the other thing that I added onto my final product was the ankle. My next assessment, assessment 14, I figured out what to add to the treatment log, like what questions I wanted to add. A big part of the treatment log that I didn't think about was adding stuff about like how they're feeling emotionally rather than just physically, because physical therapy is very like mentally draining and like frustrating for patients. They don't understand why they can't just like easily get back to where they were before. So asking questions about like how they're feeling is a big part of what I wanted to add to my treatment log. Assessment 15 was me researching about the last body part, which is the ankle. The thing I found from this assessment was the importance of strengthening not only the ankle but the like everything around it. So like you have to strengthen the calf in order for your ankle to be better, stuff like that I didn't think about. So I added on exercises to that treatment plan that strengthen not only the ankle but like all the muscles around it. And then assessment 16 contained every single one of my documents and assessments for what my final product now is. So this is what my brochure looks like. This is available. Like I'm gonna have a QR code to at final product night so that they can also scan it, and then that's why I added on like the links to the slideshows. And then it's like some warnings for it. Let's see, can I like? Is there a way I can like click to the next slide from it? And then these are my next 3 QR codes. That one's the treatment log, and then there's just a lot of warnings because I wanted to make sure that people weren't using it in place of a physical therapist, and I also wanted people to know that these are for really, really common injuries and not meant to like replace any professional that they had. Okay, yeah. So my mentor, I have a mentor. Her name is Shannon. She works at ATI Physical Therapy. and she's helped me this whole year in ISM. Okay, I didn't. So we have recurring bi-weekly meetings at the office. I asked her if I could shadow her, and she said yes. So I'm gonna go in and shadow her for some of her appointments to see what she works on day to day. During one of our meetings, she also showed me kind of how she personalizes all the exercises that she gives someone, because it's a very lengthy task, and her ATI physical therapy just added in where AI kind of helps her with it and speeds up the process. So she said that she uses AI a lot to kind of help her with documenting and stuff like that. Thank you.
Feedback or suggestions?
I think you're too.
No? Okay.
I'm sorry. I would have really fast.